The World Health Organization says that 80% of cities around the world have unacceptable air quality levels. In fact, 1 out of every 9 deaths is because of air pollution, including lung cancer, stroke and heart disease. Earlier, we spoke with the Deputy Director General of the World Health Organization, WHO, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, to understand how exactly this growing problem can be fixed and, of course, other health issues that India is currently facing.
Air pollution is something that most of us don't think about or talk about until the situation becomes so bad that it is hard to breathe, just like what is happening in India's capital of New Delhi. For the past few days, the blanket of smog has made it unbearable. And air pollution, according to the World Health Organization, is a deadly disease, in fact, responsible for every 1 out of 9 deaths, lung cancer, heart disease, and stroke. In fact, more than 80% of the world's cities have unacceptable air quality levels. Of course, Delhi is on that list. To talk about health and environmental issues, including air pollution, I'm now joined by the Deputy Director General for the World Health Organization right here in New Delhi, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan. Dr. Swaminathan, pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Really hard to believe what we see outside and what we in fact don't see, with such unbelievable amounts of smog and pollution and making headlines around the world. How did this problem get so bad?
Well, I think the causes are fairly well understood. The sources of the pollution that are coming, particularly for Delhi and the plains of North India, a lot of it at this time of the year is from the stubble burning in the fields in Punjab, Haryana and UP. But then for a city like Delhi, it's also vehicular pollution, industrial pollution, and a lot of dust from construction activity. One thing we have to keep in mind that is fairly unique in India is that we have a combination of outdoor and indoor air pollution. So while a city like Delhi might experience mainly outdoor air pollution, the moment you go into rural Haryana or Punjab or Uttar Pradesh, you'll find that there's a lot of solid fuel use for cooking and there the women and children are the ones that are most impacted. So a combination of poor outdoor air quality and indoor air pollution for households that are using solid fuels is absolutely deadly and leads to very high exposures. A lot of the health effects we know. We know that pollution has effects on the lung in terms of exacerbating asthma and other allergic diseases, causing pneumonia in young children, and also chronic obstructive lung disease if exposed over a period of time. But there are a lot of diseases where we still don't know, but we suspect there's a connection, including things like diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and some cancers, where more research is needed. As you said, 80% of the world's cities have air that's not of good quality. But of course, what we are experiencing in Delhi today is very, very severe. And I think there needs to be very collective and concerted action, really, if we are to address this problem seriously. And it's been done in other places. So I think we need to be very hopeful and positive that we don't have to continue to live like this. We can actually make a positive change.
Well, the government of India has actually blamed a few conditions, the humidity, the lack of wind, certainly the crop burning as well. But ultimately, who is to blame? Could this have been prevented? I mean, sort of to see what is happening to New Delhi, really hard to digest.
Well, I think first thing we have to accept that it's a man-made problem. And while wind and humidity can exacerbate the situation, the origins or the causes are all can be controlled by us, by humans. Whether it's crop burning, whether it's vehicular exhaust, or whether it's industrial exhaust, or whether it's dust due to construction activity, for each of these there's a solution. So I think we need to look at those solutions and how do we actually implement them, and who are going to be the partners, the central government, the state government, which are the ministries and departments involved, and of course the citizens as well. As citizens, I think we also have a responsibility of carpooling, of sharing, of trying to use public transport and so on, and of contributing less to pollution. So it needs to be a really collective effort, but I think people are ready now.
All right, joining me on the broadcast right now is WION's political editor, Karthikeya Sharma, to talk more about the health hazard and the air pollution problems being faced by New Delhi and, of course, northern India at large. Karthikeya, just going by what Dr. Swaminathan was just telling Archit in that interview that was conducted by him, it seems that the issue at large is, of course, pollution. However, the issue also seems to be the tackling of it, the solutions that need to be put in place. Do you think that there's a lack of political and social will at play which causes this to become such an issue for India year on year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not only an action part of the government, it also reflects inability of the civil society to formulate a policy. You know, Mexico City was the worst polluted place on earth, and look at the fight the Mexico City gave pollution in 1992. You know, it came out of it, and who in 1992, living in Delhi as I lived in 1992, would have thought that Delhi would see levels of pollution so much that even meters wouldn't be able to gauge them. And it is on this issue Aisha, we are joined by Mexico's ambassador to India, Melba Priya. And she had in a very lucid way, described the way Mexico City fought back. And Madam Ambassador, thank you for making time for WION. And let me begin this interview by asking you to tell us, how did Mexico City fight its battle of pollution, and can Delhi learn something from it?
Thank you for having us in your channel, and to your viewers for having us at home. We're not trying to give Delhi some lessons, we're just trying to share what worked for us. 25 years we have worked against pollution because pollution is hazardous for the life of you, of me, and of our children. 25 years means that the people that today are working in my office have a better air than the one that I had while I was growing up. We did a lot of things. First of all, we took out all of the pollutant heavy industry out of the city, but at the same time we were more stringent with that industry leaving Mexico City. We have very high standards for cars. Every car in Mexico has a catalytic converter. We buy 1 million cars from India, and all of those cars have catalytic converters. But my car in India, which is the same one that I use in Mexico, does not have a catalytic converter. We have changed all type of petrol that we use in Mexico City. It's a modern petrol with no, or at least the most modern petrol possible, with no lead, with no aluminium, with not many things. We are very stringent about a contingency plan. The children are asked to stay inside their classrooms when our pollution reaches 150. So imagine what would happen to Delhi kids. They would never play outside. The World Health Organization made a study last year and defined that Delhi had 0 days of good air. So pollution has a lot of economical problems also. It brings problems with the output of economy. It brings problems with the GDP. It brings enormous amounts of expenditure in the health issues. So pollution should be looked at as a problem that is a long time process to look into. Now everybody is talking about pollution. In 10 days, when this pollution goes down, nobody will talk about pollution again. But we will still be breathing 400s and 300s and 500s. Today we're talking about it because we're breathing 800s and we have gone out of the charts.
It's because the point you're trying to make is that the cities, the countries, their interaction with the or their ability to engage with the problem of pollution is episodic, seasonal, but not continuous. What is required is continuous interaction.
Continuous interaction and continuous effort, because we all like modernity. We all want to have a motorbike, we all want to have a car, we all want to have more light in our houses. only 20% of the electricity that we consume in Delhi, and Delhi is the city that most consumes electricity in India, only 20% is produced by gas. Everything else is produced by coal.
But then, the question which a lot of Delhiites would ask you...
It doesn't matter if it's in the summer,
the question which many Delhiites would ask you, how did Mexico City build public consensus on tough environmental laws? Because I think that's the key. The sort of article you have written, you have spoken about contingency program and a day-to-day practice, a day-to-day clean, good environmental practice. How was that public consensus built?
Public consensus is built by the reality that we are all choking. Today, India, Delhi, has the public consensus that something has to be done. But you need a strong government that actually does it. That is why we have decided that democracy is the best way of having a government. Because we vote for a government, and with the voting of a government, we give them the opportunity and the authority to think what is the best way forward for all of us. So let me tell you just two stories very briefly. All fifth graders in Mexico in 1988 were asked, what color is the sky? All of the fifth graders. Fifth graders are about 10 or 11 years old. 80% of the fifth graders answered that the sky was gray. Of the other 20%, half of them said that the sky was brown, and the other half said that the sky was blue. So if that doesn't tell you anything about our children, we have a problem. The second thing that happened in Mexico is that the Ministry of Education made a test for blood, and our children had lead in their blood. I wasn't a child in 1988 anymore. But my children had lead in their blood. Not all of them, but many of them. Enough of them for us to worry, what are we doing to the environment? We live in a city that is 2,600 meters above the sea level and in the lower part of a valley. So geography has a problem that Mexico cannot get rid of. Delhi is in a plateau that is either pushed by the cold winds from the Himalayas in the winter, or pushed by the hot winds from the Rajasthan desert in the summer. That is something that Delhi cannot get rid of. But we have to work towards getting a better environment despite the geography that we live in. So if we think that odd even number program, 2 days is enough, it's not enough. If we think that finishing the streets and leaving 30 centimeters that the streets are not completely done, and then you have dust and everything happening, that is not good for our health. There are many things that we are doing wrong. Garbage is a problem, pollution is a problem, and it will affect the output of our economy, and it will affect the lifestyle of our people.
Madam Ambassador, you had very rightly pointed out that the most polluting oil refinery was closed down in Mexico. But if you look at the trajectories of the developing economies, or economies when they're trying to industrialize on a mass scale, the imperative between environmental concerns and jobs is something which every government is baffled with. If we close down industries, we lose the job. Can you tell our viewers how did Mexico City deal with that experience of closing down the biggest refinery but still able to create a public consensus and awareness around it and celebrate it and turn it into a park for children?
There are many discussions about environment and development. We want development for our people. We want development for the future. We want development for today. But if our children are less healthy and our people that are working are less healthy, why are we developing? There should be no tension about development and environment. 1988 was a very different city than what it is today in Mexico City. 1992 when we really started working on environmental policies, we were a city in development. I mean, Mexico City is a city on development. We have, as Delhi has, 22 million people living in Delhi. It is a very big metropolis. So you have to find ways in which people understand that it is better for all of us to tackle a problem. I mean, air, it doesn't matter if you're old or young, if you're male or female, if you are rich or poor, we are all breathing the same air. There is no such a thing as I am breathing a better air than you are. It doesn't matter where we live. The air comes into our houses. When we go out, it is the same air. So we cannot have the same life that we have until now, because the same life that we have until now has gotten us where we are today. I had to use my car 1 or 2 days less than I used to use it. But I had to go out and take public transportation. Today, Mexico City has signed an agreement for public transportation in 2020 will all be electrical public transportation. Nothing has to do with gas or electricity. All will be gas or electricity. So there was a consensus when all the autos, and I know very well because I travel in an auto, were all gas. How did we reach the consensus that all the autos were going to change to gas? So there has to be a continuous and consensual idea by federal government and local government that something must be done about Delhi. Now, we speak about Delhi because 25 million people live in Delhi. But do we really want to be part of 10 out of the 25 worst polluted cities? Delhi is only one of the 10 most polluted cities in the world. So we talk about Delhi because we live in Delhi and because it's the capital, and we are 25 million that are affected.
Madam Ambassador,
by this. But there are another 9 such cities.
Yes, there are nine
Yes.
such cities. Madam Ambassador, you spoke about Delhi, and Delhi is experimenting with odd and even. There was a time when, if I'm correct, you can correct me, Mexico City, they had the No Car Day, which is said it stemmed from the civil society and was not a government's directive. Do you see similarity between the odd and even scheme of the Delhi government and the No Car Day, which was part of the process in Mexico City?
We still have the program that is called One Day Without a Car, or Today I Don't Use My Car. It started as a civic program. It was an invitation by civil society, and then it became a program. Every one of us, 1 day a week, our car doesn't work. I mean, our car has to be parked inside our houses. If it is a new car and you pass the emission test, then your car can circulate all of the 7 days. So the odd and even is problematic because then 3 or 4 days of a week your car doesn't work. And that is a problem. But if your car doesn't work 1 day a week, it is less of a problem. If I am in a household where 2 of the cars have the same number, I have a specific time to change my plate. So there are ways in which we can organize our lives around not using the car 1 day. You have an odd-even program that lasts for 1 week. Really? 1 week? We have had an odd-even program that is called Today Without a Car for 20 years. So it has taken us, I don't know how many years, but let's say 20 years for Delhi to be as it is. We think that Delhi is going to be better because of a program of 1 week. It doesn't work like that. And because I'm a woman, then I can use my car. And because I am pregnant, then it's something else. And because you are in a wheelchair, then something else. Everybody is breathing the same air. It doesn't matter that I'm a woman.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Ambassador, and for also making that pertinent point, because Delhi is also debating it, and many agencies within the National Capital Territory are of the opinion that odd and even is not like a magic wand. It has to be a practice through the year, or there are supposed to be other practices through the year, but 3-day exercise or 4-day exercise will not make Delhi healthy again. But it's a battle for everyone, and in a global world, it's a battle for every citizen to make this planet heal again. Thank you very much for joining WION.